Ohio lawmakers have now demanded a federal investigation into how it was decided where each of those shuttles will go. But of course, that doesn't do much to cushion the blow to our region. Our team's been covering this major story since before the announcement was made this afternoon. Michelle Kingsfield live at the National Museum of the United States Air Force with what we've learned since the announcement. Michelle?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we've learned today, Mark and Marcia, is that we are not getting a shuttle, and that news came as a shock to many people. We've been lobbying for 2 years, and despite all of that and the Wright brothers and the history that we have with the space mission, it was just not meant to be. At 1:30 this afternoon, NASA did announce that where its 4 shuttles will be going for display once they are retired. And here is where they're going. Discovery is headed to the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C., while the Enterprise, which never went to space and has been on display in our nation's capital, will go to New York City. And the Shuttle Atlantis, which we had hoped would be coming here to Dayton, is headed to Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida instead, and the Endeavor will land at California Science Center in Los Angeles. So obviously today, not the news that many here were hoping for, many who joined here and gathered here for a public viewing party.
Absolutely. It's been a very difficult day out here at the museum. About an hour before the announcement was scheduled to be made, word started to spread around the museum that Dayton had been overlooked, immediately drawing criticism from the crowd and especially Congressman Mike Turner.
Today, I'm proud to announce where these national treasures will be displayed and enjoyed by millions of Americans once the shuttle program concludes.
Hundreds of people sat and watched the big screens inside the hangar as NASA Administrator Charles Bolden delivered the blow, skipping over Dayton and awarding shuttles to sites on both the east and west coast. The Smithsonian in D.C. will get Discovery, Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, Atlantis. The Endeavor is headed to California Science Center in L.A., and the Test Shuttle Enterprise will call New York City's intrepid Sea, Air, and Space Museum home.
The announcement was not what we wanted to hear. However, we respect the decision, and we wish the winners all the best.
Museum Director Lieutenant John Hudson says he hasn't been told where Dayton fell on the final list, but Congressman Mike Turner says not being in the top 4 is wrong.
The administration, though, clearly has made a mistake. The space shuttle should have gone here. LA and New York are going to have one additional person that goes to either of those cities to see the space shuttle.
Turner says it seems the selections were based on the size of the cities, not what the venue had to offer and how many people the shuttle display could impact.
No one in Middle America is going to have a space shuttle. We didn't lose to Chicago. We lost to LA and New York.
Turner says despite the decision, Dayton is and always will be a hub for aerospace and science. It's just too bad NASA Administrator Bolden didn't believe it.
It's New York and LA. If they were going to pick New York and LA, why did they have a competition?
Now here's an interesting point. Unlike the other venues that were selected, if this museum had been picked, it would have put 61% of the American public within a day's drive of a space shuttle.
And that still has many people shaking their heads as to why this wasn't such a perfect location.
Absolutely.
We'll be learning more in the next few days. Okay, thanks so much, Megan. We appreciate it. Well, even though we did not get a space shuttle, we did get part of the space program, and that includes the crew compartment trainer 1 and the nose cap assembly, a thruster primary, model Skylab, and 2 shuttle tires. Those will go on display in the brand new 4th building, which will house the space shuttle gallery, which will house the space gallery, I should say, presidential aircraft gallery, and the tanker aircraft itself. As we were mentioning earlier, the museum did open its doors early today for the big announcement, which obviously we thought was going to be that Atlantis was going to get here. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But Holly Samuels continues our live TV coverage of what the normal folk just thought about today.
Well, Michelle, by opening up the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force today, organizers were hoping they were going to have a big celebration as everyone watched the announcement. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and many people left here today very disappointed. Hundreds fill the seats inside the National Museum of the U.S. Air Force. They're all waiting for an announcement that could change the region drastically, at the same time honoring the men who called this place home and dedicated their lives to the dream of flight. But when Charles Bolden Jr., administrator for NASA, listed the 4 destinations of the retired shuttles, there's a definite air of frustration, disappointment, even anger.
If it weren't for the 2 gentlemen who were born in Dayton, Ohio, who were raised here, who had the bicycle shop here, who ran the first airplane, who built the first airplane, if it hadn't been for those two gentlemen, none of this would be taking place. None of it be taking place. So why aren't we recognized for that? I do not understand.
It's a very gifted place, and a lot of people come here, like I said, from all over the world. So I'm very upset. I think that Dayton should have been. Well, I mean, this museum has tried very hard.
Well, obviously, Michelle, those ladies were not alone. They let their feelings be heard. In fact, after the announcement was made and the officials here at the museum spoke, they gave the people here an option to stick around and listen to the rest of the announcement from NASA. In fact, most people just got up and headed home. They'd heard enough.
They'd heard enough. Very disappointed. People very passionate about this.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay, thanks so much, Holly. Well, many people also chimed on our Facebook page. Here's a few of things that they said. Mark Hutchins told us, hey, let's take a huge piece of aviation history and not give it to the largest collection of historical aircraft in the world. Yeah, politics. Lori Hughes Fox says NASA might as well spit on the graves of the Wright brothers. Shame on you, NASA. Shame on you. Makes you wonder how much money passed hands from other states' politicians to get those shuttles. And Jeremy Moberly adds, they probably knew the shuttle would eventually leave to a state with lower unemployment. Of course, you can post your thoughts now. Just click on the Facebook link at WDTN.com. Well, despite the bad news, some people still trying to put on a somewhat happy face, even as they digest what they thought was going to be absolutely a shoo-in for us. Jim Bucher talked to one of the Wright brothers' relatives, as well as other aviation leaders in the area, and he continues our team coverage.
Well, you've heard by now we're not getting a shuttle, and for lack of a better term, folks, it's a bummer. But what did some of the folks attending today's ceremony say? Take a listen. What a letdown.
It is. It really is. It's a letdown for the Dayton community. It's a letdown for the nation. This was going to be the most affordable and accessible site to see a shuttle.
Well, it hurts. I'm astounded. I'm stunned. I'm real eager to hear the reasoning that went behind this decision. The disbursement, as I understand it, takes them completely out of the heartland, completely out of Dayton, Ohio, the birthplace of aviation.
Well, we're of course very disappointed that we didn't get the space shuttle. Nonetheless, we still have a world-class museum here in Dayton, Ohio, and we need to work hard in the future to get that word out to the world so they come to see us.
Well, I have to be honest, it's still a shock, still all very, very raw. I felt that of the competition, and there was a lot of competition out there, that we really presented the best argument, being an Air Force museum and a free museum. And so it's a shame that any of those national treasures, those shuttles, are not going to be in a museum that is free and open to the public, absent the Smithsonian.
Like we say at Aviation Trail, you know, no matter where you fly or where you journey into space, it all started right here in Dayton, Ohio, and that's where the shuttle should be.
But just like your great uncles, man, it's a bummer, but you just keep pressing on.
Well, yeah, if anybody wants to hear the rest of the story of aviation, they can come here to Dayton, Ohio and find that out. We've got a world-class museum, as I said here. We've also got a national park that commemorates the work of the Wright brothers. So if you really want to get back to the roots of aviation and follow it all the way up to the jet and space age, this is the place to do it.
This is only a minor speed bump. Again, it's a disappointment for us. We wish it were otherwise, but this is we're going to move forward. That's what we do.
From the National Museum of the United States Air Force, Jim Bucher, 2 News on your side.
Well, WDTN.com is a great place to find more information on the shuttle announcement today. You can see previous stories on the push to bring a shuttle to the Miami Valley, as well as a photo gallery of many famous faces and images from shuttle missions, beginning with the first Columbia mission on this day back in 1981. So to recap today, the Dayton region will not be getting a shuttle here. Any of the 3 shuttles will be coming here, and neither will Enterprise, which did not make a mission as well. Also, the Space Shuttle program will have its final voyage coming up this summer. And as we heard in many of the sound bites earlier tonight, we will continue on here with this Class A museum that we have going on. After that, after the mission and the voyages are over, the shuttles will go back to their new homes. Reporting live from the National Museum of the United States Air Force, Michelle Kingsfield, back to you.